welcome. Do you like that little intro? I thought that was pretty cool. Only reason I did that, hey, before I go into that, it's Saturday morning here on the Gold Coast. It's obviously 9 o'clock. Beautiful day, very chilly, as you can see. I've got this on. I don't have my heater on that way. But yeah, welcome again. Thank you for coming. I just wanted to, before I go into the show today, I don't have any guests today. And in saying that, I really would like to thank Martin and Bill for being here with me last week. I had an awesome time. You guys are sensational people. And we had a session afterwards backstage with a few very intelligent people that make me feel quite inadequate. And they gave me some really, really good feedback and some input about things that can happen on a live stream and what we should be doing about that. So I guess if you're here and you're still with me, you're prepared to go with me into this world of opinions. If you don't really want to do that, like again, a reminder, now's the time just to scroll on, like go somewhere else and look at something else. I don't do, and none of my guests have any intention of going out to hurt when they make their opinions, because it is really just an opinion-based show. In saying all of those things, we do understand us older guys of a long time ago, the print media had lots and lots of different sections. They had the sports articles, they had the social articles, the entertainment articles. They would have, dare I say, hit pieces. They would have opinion pieces that have actual news pieces. Well, that's questionable, but they had news pieces. And they also had another section in that's called like a shock piece. And they were there for a reason. Like the shock pieces were there for to let people know that things are happening and what they need to do about that. We had a radio presenter years ago, talkback radio, called John Laws, and he was a fantastic presenter. We have Alan Jones, who's another one here in Australia, who they were shock jocks. There's another couple, I believe, not that they're a couple, but Kyle and Jackie O, I think they call them, they're shock jocks too. And there's a place for all of those articles. This video is an opinion-based video, and the opinions are valid at the moment you say the opinions. Like 2 minutes later, someone will say something and my opinion might change. So again, another reminder, if you're going to try and hold anything against me, my family, my friends, my guests, anybody on the opinions they express here, move on. Like, move on. We actually don't want you to, I actually don't want you to watch this show. So that brought me to another interesting story that I got from a video from a Rumble channel called The De-Escalation Coach. Now, this particular gentleman is another one of those people who've got far more intelligence than I do. And he put out a wonderful story. Those of you who go there, and I'll put the link in below, but I think if you go and just type in, open another tab on your browser and go to Rumble and The De-Escalation Coach, some of you will recognize the person hosting that channel and will value the views of that person. He had a really cool story last week or the week before about Yogi and Boo Boo. And I just I'm going to paraphrase it because obviously not my story. Go to that one and in The De-Escalation Coach and re-look at that story. But it basically, in a workplace environment, says Yogi says something, Boo Boo got offended. And again, this is really the condensed version. Yogi was pulled across the manager, and Yogi had to have some counselling on what he said, and basically working out, did it go in with the work environment? Was it said with this? And he had to go through all these different strategies to help him learn how to say things. Now, in that example, in a workplace environment, if Yogi's intent was to hurt Boo Boo, then I think Yogi needs to get some help, like without question. If Yogi said what he said in general banter, then the only person who needs help in that scenario is probably Boo Boo. And if the banter was against the workflow, I get that. All right, so let me put this into another little story about opinions and what people do with them in today's world. Let's say I have a barbecue and I invite, 20 people, 100 people. See, the numbers are irrelevant, but in the barbecue we're having, I have a conversation with 2 or 3 other people, and we talk about opinions because that's the theme of the barbecue. It's come and express your opinions and feel free and safe to do so. we express our opinions, and two other of my friends say something, and I go, oh, don't know if I agree so much with that, but fine, no worries. It's your opinion. You're allowed to have it. Old mate in the corner over there who's listening, but not prepared to actually voice and express his opinion or hers. So it goes, I don't think that's very nice. And I'm going to say something. I'm going to do something about it. Now, this opinion barbecue or get-together we have has been going for 7 years or more. Right? Long time. And this one person, who's only one in thousands of people that have contributed to this opinion barbecue, goes and complains to the opinion police, and they come to me and they say, David, you had an opinion barbecue, and someone on that barbecue, and you talked about X, and old mate over here, well, they didn't like X. Actually, I can't tell you who the old mate was because, that's private. But old mate over there said they didn't like what you said, and you now have to cancel the barbecues. You're not allowed to have them anymore. And not only that, you as the host of the barbecue, you need to go and have some counselling on how you run your barbecues, and that it may affect other people in their life and those sorts of things. And I want to ask you guys, is that scenario even slightly fair or reasonable? If this barbecue has been going for a long time and all the people who have been on it for so long have been participants and really enjoyed it, had a good fun at the barbecue, and one old mate goes, I don't like it, and everything stops. Right? I believe, going back to my question about yogi, and boo-boo, I don't need help because I'm just running an opinion-based article. That's all it is. It's an opinion-based show, opinion-based barbecue. The person needs help is old mate over there who didn't like what I said. Now, that's their problem. Really, that's their problem. That's not mine or the other people who participated. So from last week and everything that is going to potentially happen in this environment that we're in right now, if you're still with me, then you're sort of agreeing that opinions are opinions and they're valid for the moment. They said, what I said yesterday is the same as I think today, and it may not be the same as I say tomorrow. So don't hold anything against me. So I'm done with that. I want to move on to a few other little things. The idea of education, and maybe all of this relates to where we are with that whole thing, like I just said a minute ago, about opinion bases and stuff like that. I was going to have a couple of people on today, one in particular who's a current educator in a secondary school here on the Gold Coast, and he actually ended up saying no because he was a little afraid that if he said something that went against the philosophy of the school and or the philosophy of the mainstream media, that he would get sacked and or whatever they do on mainstream media, TikTok and Instaface, they kick you off. They do those stupid things. So he actually is a high school teacher, and he was going to mention some things that have been happening in the high school environment here on the Gold Coast that was probably a little bit, I guess, related to where we are with this now. And a lot of it is to do with the kids at school that do stupid things with zero consequence. And this will also lead into the next section of this talk today as well. There's girls at school now in these public schools, and as he was saying, the teachers have to monitor the girls' toilets and the boys' toilets now. Because what people are doing is the girls in particular, this was about girls, they would go into the school ground or the school toilet, take their vapes with them and vape in the toilet. Someone want to go to the toilet and literally want to go to the toilet and not just hide away from teachers and vape. And that girl would go into the toilet, and these other girls would get their phones and put them under the cubicle or on top of the cubicle, take a photo, post it, and say something like, guess who this is? That is just absolutely stupid. What? And now teachers are having to go to that school and police girls and boys going to the toilet so that, one, they don't vape, and two, they don't take stupid photos and post them on the internet. That is just absolutely disgusting. The education system is failing those children, and I don't know how you feel about it failing children everywhere, but I believe that the system has changed from when I was a child to when I was an educator myself to where we are today. And I don't know where the blame goes, and it could be like in any environment at all, but there's a whole lot of, everybody has a feeling and everybody's feeling is valid, which is true. But in my mind, there's like two feelings, like there's happy and sad, or love and joy, or whatever you want to call them, fear and love and fear, I don't care. But all the other things are emotions, and emotions are subjective. So I don't know, even as simple as Fred says something to me and I feel hurt. Well, I don't think you feel hurt, because I don't think that's hurt. I think that's a choice you've made from what Fred said. You know, years and years ago, there was a saying, and I think most of you will know it, sticks and stones can break my bones, but names will never hurt me. And we were taught that as children from our parents and our mentors and role models and those around us. When I was teaching my martial art, I went to a primary school here, again on the Gold Coast, clearly, and that little quote was put up there, but they changed the end. And it was, sticks and stones can hurt your bones and names can hurt you too. And that just made, in my mind, everybody into this place of being so, I don't know what the word is, but, you know, it's just, everybody is so delicate, and everybody now has come to a point of being so afraid of what they have to say. So I want to move on from that, because that's actually boring me now. It's actually so tiring that this is going on, and the people out there aren't doing anything. I want to get back to schools and education. My daughter went to high school here, and she went there because it had a sports excellence program. And that sports excellence program was known in the Gold Coast as the school that provided really, really good sports people. The program was fantastic. And it was just there that everyone was striving to get to that school to get into the sports excellence program. The teacher that ran, or the headmaster that ran that, was unbelievable with the kids. He was firm but fair and reasonable, and he did everything to help the children grow and nurture and be strong individual people. So much so that he was headhunted by a school in Hong Kong, and they offered him obviously a fantastic amount of money and a great opportunity. And he took that opportunity and he went to Hong Kong, and they replaced him with a teacher a headmaster who had previously taken some really good programs out of another school, and pretty much made that school into a dark school, a school that you didn't want to go to, where prior to that it was quite a reputable school. When this headmaster came into the good school, the school that had all of a good sports program, I think the first thing she did was, maybe the second, was cancel the sports program, the sports excellence program. And all of the good kids that were running in that school, that were doing the fantastic sports programs, were shocked. The parents were unbelievably shocked. We went to all of the authorities above her to question it, and it was squashed down by the education department, as we were told. And we don't know the truth of all of this, of course, because this, again, is my opinion from my experience of that time. Sports excellence program was cancelled. So many other subjects were brought in, and they were not relevant. We don't believe they were relevant as the parents anyway, but again, it didn't seem like we had a say in the matter. And like the last school this headmaster was in, that went from a relatively good school that people wanted to go to a school that no one wanted to go to, that's what's now happened with the school my daughter went to, and the boys. It was gone to a school that was once a school that everyone wanted to go to, now a school that everyone's trying to get out of. And that's really sad. And I think that's part of someone's opinion comes in, and we need to try and do something with that. And it comes back down to a lot of things as well. And I can, as an elderly person, not an elderly, an older generation person, I can see when a lot of these things happened and changed. And I actually put most of this down to social media, and I don't necessarily mean YouTube or Rumble. And for my mind, it's TikTok, Instaface, Grambook thing, all those things where people want instant gratifications from a photo they put up that's actually a really, really like stupid photo, and people click on it and they feel good about doing that. And there's lots of stuff on the internet. Simon Sinek talking about dopamines from all of these things and telephone communication. And I noticed that Pub Test, yes, you're 100% right in a comment. You said ban mobile phones from going to school, like totally. But parents need to be part of that. Parents need to be responsible for that too. You can't put that all onto the education system, because I know parents, and I've spoken to them, will say, oh, I think little Mary needs to take a phone just in case she's feeling a little bit sensitive and she needs to call me. And I go, but how about no? How about little Mary needs to go to the headmaster or go to the teacher and learn the process of chain of escalation, or in this case, de-escalation. And that's when I go back to the de-escalation coach for information on how to do that. But you can't just go from a little conflict to, mum, take me home, or dad, pick me up because I'm being bullied. It's like, I think the word bully's been loosely used in terms that need to be changed as well. But that's part of the education system, the subjects that are letting them down. As we know, almost all of our children go to school for 6 to 7 hours a day for almost 12 years. The teachers at the schools, the education system, are primarily the ones that give our kids guidance on how to be good people. And if there's no place at school where children learn the pecking order, where they learn how to be physical and how to tackle in the like boys going out to the playground and playing a game of touch or tag or British Bulldog, and they can do it, but they're not allowed to touch you. They're not allowed to tackle you, put you to the ground, and you're not allowed to lose skin or do anything like that. It's sad. The primary school I used to teach at as well, they stop kids from climbing on monkey bars in case they fell off and broke an arm because a kid did. Like, you've got to be able to do this stuff. You've got to be able to do this in general play. Escalate, de-escalate, go from one step to the next step. Don't necessarily go to that child and say, please stop. I don't like you doing that. You need to move it beyond that to other things and go to the teacher. Teacher comes back to the two children work it out. Maybe there's a consequence, maybe there's not. I don't know. Anyway, so the all aspects of the education system, in my view, need to be probably readdressed to bring back some of the older values and maybe a little bit more discipline, maybe a little bit more consequence in a schoolyard. I actually don't believe if a child intentionally bullies someone or intentionally makes it harder, I mean that in verbal bullying as well as physical, that they get suspended and go home for 3 days, because that's a reward. That's, look, I'm going home and I'm going to spend 3 days on the internet playing games or whatever they're going to do. And even a parent who then has to spend 3 days at home from work, they're punishing the parent, not the child that did the crime. So why the education does that, I have no idea. I know when corporal punishment was taken out, like the cane or the paddle or whatever it might have been, girls getting detention and cleaning up the schoolyards was taken out because it was demoralising, and 1 out of 1,000 teachers misused the cane, and generally that was misused on someone who was guilty of something anyway. And there are the odd occasion where people won't, but I'm not actually saying we should bring that back, but we need to bring back a consequence that isn't a reward for the child staying at home and giving them time to go home. All of this leads into the next part of violence and crime, and where, in my view, again, it is where it goes. There's a lot of the statistics will say that violence and crime is on the decrease, and I go, well, you got to believe statistics. Like, now, maybe a little bit of tongue in cheek with statistics, because a statistic is given for a view of what they want the information to give them. So I did some research years ago on violence and reported violence and in just the Gold Coast area, or in Australia. Let's say in Australia, generally speaking, like in the time there was probably 300 murders committed, and in that time where the statistics were taken, and that's horrible. That's like the end of the extreme of violence, and that's all the media ever talks about, that, like those 300 things. At the same time, there were 300 people that tragically died in drowning accidents, and absolutely heartbreaking that happened. Most of the people that did drown in these statistics were old men fishing, a bit of alcohol. In saying that, here we go, a little bit of alcohol. Oh, this one, sorry, I digressed a little bit, but this one is peanut butter flavoured bourbon. Maybe not as nice as the cinnamon from last week, but not bad in itself. Anyway, this drowning, there was 300 people or so drowned in this year, and most of them were older men and or fishing accidents. And tragically, like unbelievably tragically, about 20 of them were children, and they were all young, like under 10. And there's such a big push to teach children to learn to swim, so that we stop that 20 children down to 0, which would be perfect. But at the same time, there was zero education and training on how to stop the 300 murders from occurring. Violence is ingrained in humankind, in human society. It's what, in my view, allows us to grow and be able to hunt the woolly mammoth. We can't be sitting down and talking about our peace, love, and mung beans if the woolly mammoth is coming we need to eat, and or if a saber-toothed tiger is attacking our family. We actually need, as men, to be able to be violent, and women to be violent to protect our loved ones. What makes us a man and a woman is actually that we don't use the violence when we don't need to. Right? So what this violent thing does is there's, in that same time, that same period of time where 300 murders and 300 drownings, there were over 116,000 reported assaults on people. That didn't include domestic violence assaults, and that didn't include, and out of that 116,000, there were about 20,000 physical assaults against children under 10. And these are assaults, and only the assaults that have been reported. And I give all credit to those people that report those assaults, because it's a hard thing to do, and it's an extremely scary thing to do when you know that if you report an assault against you by a young person, and you're a young person, that the criminal system and the legal system will take that person who did that assault, take them into the court system and go, you did wrong, didn't you? And that person goes, yep. And they go, you won't do it again, will you? And they go, no. And they go, okay, off you go. Then that young person who reported is then in fear of the one who was released, bashing them harder, bashing them more. And they probably will generally do that. And then that other one, the victim, will never report it again, in fear. And there doesn't even be fear of themselves, because those violent people will then potentially attack a friend or a sister or a brother, or maybe even some family member. So the person who's the victim is now in terror. So yes, there may be a decrease in crime. There may be a decrease in violence. I actually don't know that that's true. I actually think there's an increase in violence, and I think there's a decrease in the reporting of it, which is why the statistics are skewed. So for men in particular, and even the youth who see this stuff on TV, let's go back to censorship. And I actually think that the television shows that kids watch nowadays, unbelievably bad. Those of you who were born in the 60s, maybe even the 70s, will remember the first full frontal nudity on TV. I think in Australia it was a TV show called Number 96, or even another one called The Box. And that was actually shock. That was like, my God, I saw tits on TV. And then there was like full frontal female nudity in I don't know, someone will know, someone in there can have a little look. And now it's actually gone to, we watched a show last night that I would say was soft to medium porn on general television. Like two naked bodies actually gyrating physically in a bed, and she turns to go on top. It's like, okay, this is what our children today are watching. They're watching violent TV shows where they sensationalize gangsters. And as an adult, I can discern the difference and know that it's a TV show. I know that it's happening. The glorifying, people who make crack and coke and selling it to people who get them stoned and high and then die and create a criminal world. They're doing TV shows, and the best TV shows, the one that I like the most, are the ones that are gangsters getting away with stuff. It's like, and kids see that and they go, oh, well, they get away with it. It's on TV. I've been sneaking watching that for the last 10 years. 5 years, I'll give it a go. And, then they get away with it. The court system lets them get away with it. And they go, well, I get away with it. So why can't the world get away with it? Why can't I just keep doing it until they get to a point? And that point might be when that steps into adult crime. I don't know. I don't know enough about it to go with that. Unfortunately, a pattern could be set. Let's just hope that doesn't happen. I actually put a lot of this, the aggression and fighting in the youth and the adults, down to the move and the shift between a traditional martial art to the MMA style televised fights and UFC. Back when we were growing up, there was boxing, which everyone loved, and that and we watched the camaraderie and the gentleman art of boxing, where they fought really hard and they punched and knocked, and they got it. You get hit, you get knocked out, you go down. The fighter, the aggressor, steps away and lets the person get up, and they'll get up or they don't get up, and they're counted and it's over. And then there's nothing else from that, and it's all respect and all love and joy. Moving to an MMA mind, to a UFC mind, where it's gone to no hold barred, get in there and beat the crap out of each other, and not just as they're going down, but on the ground. They ground and pound and they smash them on the ground. You know, in a real world, that's assault. In a real world, you can't be doing that. And to having those sorts of things televised and on general TV, you know, you can go to YouTube, you hop on YouTube and go UFC fight where guy gets, you know, head beaten in, and then there's thousands of them. And kids can do that. Kids will watch that and they go, I can do that. And in their mind, they go, it's televised, it's on television, it must be okay. So when they get into a fight, that's what they do. And they don't just stop. And nowadays, you know, you see kids walking around with bags, and security guards will go, and even police will say, show me your bag. Show me your bag. Get your hands away from the bag. I got a security friend who sees kids, technically boys and girls, walking towards them. If their hands are behind their back, the first thing he says is, show me your hands, because of that glorified television of violence and crime. And I don't know what the answer is. Like, there may be something there we can work with, but again, my opinion, these things need to be done back to at a lower level. They're saying now that children don't understand the concept of right and wrong. And look, I've been around children training for a long time, and I know children, even as young as 5 or 6, know that what they're doing is wrong. And they generally know their act is wrong. To say a 12-year-old doesn't know that stealing a car, driving down the wrong side of the road in a high police chase, running into a car and killing 3 people is wrong, no. Like, and you take that down even to another level, to something less dangerous or less violent, or a horrible consequence of just simply, I don't know, punching someone in the face for no reason. Walking up to an old lady. There's videos on the Gold Coast of a young man walking up to an old lady behind her, walk beside her and punch her in the face. Like, he knows that's wrong. He knows that's wrong. No consequence. So that needs to change. So I was involved with a police youth, and I was involved with a police youth, but I had a conversation with this support group for the police youth, and they actually almost guide and encourage people and kids to, they feed them when they're on the street, and they give them mobile phone, SIM cards and all that sort of stuff, believing they're helping the children waywardly lost. And yes, they are, because some of them generally are waywardly lost, but the majority of them aren't. And what they're doing is teaching them ways to circumvent the system of parental discipline and understanding the consequences that are given to them by the parents, which are generally normally reasonable, given the thing that was done. I went and sat with a group of people, police and the support people, and they were saying, we got all these support groups for children and all these different things to help them go and get out of it. And I asked them, well, can you give me a support group for parents? And they said, I don't think there is one. I go, well, why not? Why don't you provide all this information? You, at face value, say the children are right. You've got to believe the children. I said, well, why? Do you actually believe that children don't lie? Really? Really? Like, come on. They do. They learn it. That's how they learn it. And this is what I was saying to them, obviously not to you guys. And they were just like, I said, well, why don't you put together a support group for parents? Give them strategies and tools on to deal with children who go through emotional things, and how can we as parents learn to do that? A community-based support group, not one that you've got to pay thousands of dollars to go to. And nothing's happened to that, like, of course. So, I don't know. So going down all those processes, I think there's a thing we need to do to try and help us as parents and support this and move on from that. Anyway, that's it. I've rabbited on for a little while, but don't want to rabbit on for 100 minutes or an hour or so today. I thank you and your patience for being here and listening to me do this. And there's a handful of you there, and I appreciate you being there. And if you're still with me, which is really, really cool, I want to do something for those of you who stay this long. Now, next week, I hope to have someone with me talking like we did last time. I don't know the subject yet, but I'll find it over the next couple of days. Put some information and some things in the comment. Now, this is what I want to put in here for you who are patient enough to bear with me for the rest of the day. How about I'm going to give you the words or some words of a song. I want you to give me in the comments below the proper full name, or the next few words of the song. We'll finish the line, the name of the song, the artist, and what year it was published. So let's go with, okay, I'll say it out and we'll go with, there she was just a walking down the street. Next verse, who sung it, what year, and the proper name of the song. I'll leave it there for today. Guys, I really, really thank you so much for being patient and being there with me. I'm noticing the comments. I'll just quickly go through some of those. De-escalation coach, thank you very much. Good morning to you. I think you were first. Pub test was first on YouTube. As we go, third eye, thank you very much. You see him, that's good. Work through the comments, guys. Keep them going. Get everything happening on there. Remember, there she was, just a walking down the street. Next part of the song, who sung it, what year, and the full name. Guys, thank you for listening. All of you, respect to you all for being here. What I'd like to do is say goodbye. Have a great weekend. And enjoy your journey. Remember, hashtag Treos there. Take responsibility and own your shit. Be good. Have a good weekend. Take it easy, guys. Oh.